Welcome to episode 62 of Project Geekology, where we're going to be talking all about the streaming platform Twitch. I am one of your hosts, Anthony, and joining me today is somebody that I find perfect for the topic. It's somebody that I've met through streaming communities and streaming itself. They go by CheekyLemon. How are you doing, CheekyLemon? And thank you for joining me today.
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking me to join you for this.
Absolutely. When I decided to invite you on for an episode of Project Geekology, I knew that talking about Twitch was perfect because you're a Twitch streamer. I streamed for a good little while on Twitch. I may or may not come back to streaming, but we'll see. I always have a good time when I do it. I think I just need a better computer at this point. But not only are you a streamer, but you're a Vtuber.
Yeah, yep. You don't see my face during my streams. It's accurate.
But you do a really good job. You keep it engaging, and I mean, you have people come back every time you stream, so
yeah,
I think you're doing something right.
I feel very blessed and lucky that I have a nice community that includes you.
Yes, I love hanging out in Lemon's streams. And we'll add your plugs at the end of this episode and in the show notes. But before we get to the main topic, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been up to. So I've honestly been watching a lot. I'm usually a gamer. So Netflix released a live action One Piece. I watched all of that. It goes from the beginning of the anime all the way up into the end of Arlong Park. And I honestly absolutely enjoyed it. I thought that they did a really good job. Lemon, did you watch any of that? Have you watched any One Piece?
No, but I feel like I need to because I usually have bad vibes about live action stuff, but everybody I know who loves One Piece the anime has really liked the live action, so I'm like, oh, well, maybe I will dabble. I am tempted. I'm very tempted.
You should check it out, honestly. I know people that haven't watched One Piece, but they watched the live action, and it's gotten them wanting to watch the anime. I've been watching the anime for a little bit now, and after watching the live action, it made me go on more of a bender. I'm like, I've taken a couple week break off of One Piece to watch other things.
Yeah.
But now I've just been, over the span of the few days that I finished watching the live action, I've watched at least like 15 episodes.
Wow. There you go.
Well, I mean, honestly, something that freaks people out about One Piece is the amount of episodes.
Yes.
But the episodes are so short. When you skip the intro, you're skipping like 3 minutes. And I'm not joking.
Wowie.
Yeah. So I watched that. There's a couple of anime movies that I watched. I watched one called A Silent Voice. I don't know if you've ever watched that, Lemon.
Favorite anime movie.
It's
nailed it.
So somebody recommended it to me, and I saw it at the local library, and
Nice.
I checked it out, and I watched it, and I really enjoyed it, but it definitely made me cry.
Yes. Ooh, doggy. That's part of why I like it. I think it does a really good job selling the emotions, and it's not forced.
And it's something that's really relatable too.
Yeah.
Which you don't always get that all the time in anime. There's definitely moments in anime that you can connect with and you can identify with, you know, especially those underdog ones, or like you want the underdog to win.
Yep.
But this one is grounded a little bit more in realism, and it really does hit a sensitive spot in me.
Yeah, I like a good slice of life to mix up my deep fantasy animes. That's good.
I agree.
Yep.
You know, I like my Jujutsu Kaisens,
Yep.
and I like my Demon Slayers and
Yep.
all that stuff. So, I mean, yeah, there's always going to be that. And I love my shonen
Yes.
anime, of course. The action-packed anime. But I do like the anime that it's different. You know, yeah, that slice of life that you're talking about.
Yep.
Another one that I watched, which I think it was like a producer of Your Name, was a part of this movie, but it's called Fireworks. I don't know if you've seen that.
Have not even heard of it. Interesting.
Yes, that one was a little different. It had this like whole time travel element to it, and it was like a love story, and yeah, it just had this crazy like time element to it, and this character was going back and changing things, and then the world around him was kind of changing also. And it was interesting. It was a little crazy at some points, but I thought it was a sweet story. And another one that I have on my docket is one called Summer Wars.
Ooh. If that's the one I think it is, I've seen it and it's very good. But I could be very wrong.
Is it the one about the AI that attacks like everything online?
I don't think so. You could probably tell me what it's about because it's on your radar.
Right. So it's about this kid and this girl. They go and visit her family, and she lies to them about the guy and says that the guy is like her fiance, I guess, to kind of get her family off her back.
Yeah.
But while he's over at her family's like home, somebody releases this AI, and the AI sends this math equation to the guy. The guy solves it and sends it back to this individual. Well, this individual ends up cracking the security, and so the whole world uses this. It's like an online community called Oz. And even like the public transportation, politicians, the fire department, they all use this online world to do things. And so this AI was hacking, and so fire department and police were getting fake 911 calls, and all the water mains were just getting messed up, all the traffic lights were messing up. It's a lot of like craziness that, like, at least from what I've seen in some of the trailers and some of the stuff that I've looked into. And so I guess you haven't seen it, but
yeah.
It seems pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, I was definitely thinking of a different movie. I've heard this title, but no, I haven't seen it. Wow. Interesting.
I also got to see Blue Beetle finally this weekend.
Was it good?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun movie to watch.
I have not seen it. You could probably tell that from me asking if it was good.
Yeah, it's one of those DC movies that are lower on the radar for some people, because it's one of those characters that not many people really know about. I think I've heard of Blue Beetle before, but I never read any of the comics. Kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy, though Guardians of the Galaxy was really good.
I heard people saying that Blue Beetle was DC trying to be Marvel because it was a peppier flavor instead of DC's like darker. Is that the vibe you got?
I could see that. I think that this was the first movie under the helm of James Gunn, and he's the director of all the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and the special.
I didn't know that.
So I could see, I mean, there a lot hasn't been working for DC, so I could see why he'd want to kind of change things up a bit. But yeah, like I've been watching a lot, and like I said, I'm usually a gamer.
Yeah.
I'm usually sitting down to game.
Yeah.
That's what I love. But and don't get me wrong, I've still been gaming. I've been playing this game called Armored Core. We just had Starfield come out. I'm going to start that today. But yeah, I've just been really enjoying a lot of anime stuff, and I've been reading some manga. So I forget, I can never get the first part right, but the manga that I'm reading is like, I think it's like Kaguya-sama or something like that, but the tagline is Love is War.
This sounds familiar, but it's not really ringing the bell.
So that's really like a lot I've been doing, and then doing some research and kind of thinking back on my history with Twitch for this episode, because I have a long history with Twitch, believe it or not, but we will talk about that once we get to the actual episode. Now, these past few weeks, I've been saying this with every guest that I've had on, but the listeners have heard enough about me over all the years of me doing this podcast with my friend Dakota. Tell us more about you, CheekyLemon. Tell us about the stuff that you like, and you can even tell us a little bit about your stream.
Oh boy, this is the part I was not prepared for. The self-introduction. I am your typical weeb, probably is safe to say. In my spare time, I have been watching my fair share of anime. I am partial to my shonens, many of the things you have listed. But I consume my animes and mangas at probably a slower rate than most people. It's harder for me to binge something So I have a very hard time finishing a series. But yeah, I'm kind of a wants to try everything kind of a person. So I do a lot of like music stuff. I write songs on the ukulele. I like yes. I like dabbling into different art ventures, not necessarily drawing, but like graphic design-esque things, especially for my streams. I just end up doing a lot of stuff. But yeah, what's weird for me being a streamer, I stream gameplay content mostly, but I wouldn't have probably called myself a gamer before I really started streaming. Those kind of happened at the same time. I used to more be a watcher, and I would watch a lot of Let's Plays. And now that I'm a streamer, I'm kind of in the first person seat, and that's very strange for me.
We'll be back after a quick break.
I hate talking.
Do you love talking about any topic and are never frustrated during conversations? Then I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if there are topics that you avoid, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Do you know the definition of every word others use? I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if you are curious about the definition and historical usage of words, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Do you know about current events and other random topics? Then I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if you enjoy conversations on a variety of topics, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Listen to I Hate Talking wherever you get your podcasts.
Episodes drop every Thursday. Listen, like, and follow I Hate Talking today.
So I see that you've been streaming a few things, particularly Crosscode, and I know that you've been really enjoying that.
Yes.
So for the average listener that doesn't know what Crosscode is, explain Crosscode.
Okay, Crosscode. So first of all, this is going to display my lack of gamer knowledge. But Crosscode is a fake MMO. And for the life of me, I will never remember what the letters MMO stand for. I know what it means. I don't remember what those stand for.
Massive multiplayer online.
Thank you. For some reason, my brain wants to stick media on one of those M's, and I know that's wrong. But massive multiplayer online. It's a fake one. It's kind of like Gameception. You're playing a game that's taking place in a game. It's a platformer, so you're running around and doing a lot of stuff. But it's not level-based. There's like a world map to the game, and you have to run around and kind of figure out what's going on. It's story-based. And one of my favorite things about it is that it's pixel art. I love pixel art. So I feel like I tend to gravitate toward games that I think are pretty. And I think this game is very pretty. And it's very beginner-friendly. There's actually some options in the game where if you just want to kind of enjoy the story, you can turn down some of the difficulty. I think that's really cool because, like I said, I'm not like the gamer. Like, people don't come to my streams for sick gaming skill. They kind of come to my streams to hang out with me. And this game is a nice, kind of like a chiller game that you don't have to be so focused every moment of the game. It's not like a try-hard game. You can just run around and like do quests and things, and then you have time to like interact with other people while you're playing. The reason I have been streaming it so much, beyond just that I think it's a fabulous game, is that when I started streaming, I was doing a series because I have a game bundle that I got from donating to a charity, and the game bundle had like 1,000 games in it. It was something ridiculous.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Humble Bundle.
No, it's not.
Or no, it was the Ukrainian one?
Yes. The donations for Ukraine. That one. And I got, they're not all games. Some of it's like tabletop games. So like you can't, I mean, I guess someone can figure out how to stream that. But when I first started my streaming channel, my main content was Overwatch and then trying to go through the games in this bundle. And Crosscode was one of them. And then everybody fell in love with it. And I had a lot of people visit my streams and stick around because of that game. So I keep playing it for them. I like doing that.
It's been great, though. It is really a fun game. It has an awesome story to it, and it just goes to show you that there's so many of these indie games that have such character to them.
Yeah.
And yeah, Crosscode's one of them.
It also has a really devoted fan base, which I find very interesting. That's something that I wasn't as up on when I got into streaming is like the fan bases of games. And now I'm like getting more into that and what kind of people like what kind of games. It's very interesting to me. But Crosscode is from like 2018, I think. And everybody who plays it tries to get all their friends to play it. Like, it has kind of a cult following. It's a really good game.
It's one of those games that you've either heard of it or maybe your friend has told you about it.
Yeah.
But it's not one of those games that's widely known, but it is one of those games that I couldn't recommend enough.
Yes. Yeah.
Alrighty, was there anything else that you wanted to add before we get to the main event?
About Crosscode?
Oh, just in general, like about you.
Ooh. Okay, well, maybe I should add my creds. I have been streaming for like 6 months. So I have a lot of friends in the streaming community who have been streaming for way longer. But I feel like I'm happy to do this with you because I started all this kind of recently. So it's still kind of fresh. You know what I mean? So I can reference stuff that I've had to do recently that maybe some other people don't think about anymore because it's so second nature to them at this point.
I think you've done a pretty good job in the amount of time that you've been streaming. I'd been there with you in your humble beginnings, and it now looks like you've carved out a pretty decent little slice of Twitch community, you know?
I'd like to think so.
So, yeah, no, you've definitely done a good job, and I'm excited to hear more about it as we start Twitch. So before we actually talk about the personal streaming experience, I do want to talk a little bit about the beginnings of Twitch. So believe it or not, I have been, and the next time I go to one of your streams, look at my name and look at the birthday of my channel. So the birthday of my Twitch channel is May of 2010, and Twitch didn't exist until June of 2011.
Huh? How'd you do that?
Yeah. So before Twitch became Twitch, it was a website called Justin TV. And so the main people involved were named Justin Kahn and Emmett Cheer. And Justin TV, and mind you, back then I was in my senior year of high school when I started watching this.
Wow.
Towards the end of my senior year, actually. And so, yeah, I stumbled upon Justin TV. Justin TV back then was more of an IRL stream type thing.
Yeah.
So it was a lot more of people just streaming their day-to-day in their homes or whatnot, or going out and about. We have those IRL streams now on Twitch. So the reason why I made an account and I started following people back in the Justin TV days was that there was a small little community carved out that streamed themselves gaming. And one of them actually a few of them still stream to this day.
That's wild.
But yes, some of them don't stream as consistently as they did back in the earlier days. But it's so nice to see them kind of pop on from time to time. And it's just insane because, like I said, it's like back then it was just this like streaming website that happened to have like a little gaming community. I don't even think that they had a dedicated gaming section back then. But they eventually released an app, the Justin TV app. And so for that entire year, I would watch people streaming on Justin TV all the way up until June. And then I saw that there was a new website. It was called Twitch. And I'm like, Twitch? What's going on? What is this? And it's like, what's going on with Justin TV? And they're like, okay, Justin TV is going away because Amazon bought it. And it's being replaced with Twitch. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay. They're like, yeah, this one's going to be more dedicated to gaming. And there's going to be an IRL section. They still had a lot of IRL streams, and there was a lot more gaming streams. Those earlier days of Twitch was like the Wild West.
I can imagine.
Have you gone to the streaming website Kick?
No, I haven't yet.
So Kick is a little bit reminiscent of Twitch in the earlier days.
Same vibes.
I mean, if I remember correctly, I don't know if you've heard the streamer Lyric.
Yes, I've heard the name. That's about it.
So Lyric, I think in those earlier days of Twitch, used to just stream like full movies.
Oh, really? Oh, well.
Yeah. Back then, like people were streaming like full on movies.
Wow.
Like they had people. Yeah, like they had people that had movies that they were just streaming on like a programming block. It's so wild. I followed some of those channels. I was like, yeah, if they had some movie that I hadn't seen in a while or always wanted to see but never got around to seeing it, yeah, I would follow those channels. Yeah, it was wild. You know, I'm pretty sure they had terms of service, but it was very loose back then. And so now Twitch is pretty like locked down when it comes to stuff like copyrighted content.
Yep.
Anything that might be considered suggestive or risque.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they've tightened it up a little bit, whereas Kick is a little bit more loose. I think that they're tightening things up just a bit. But yes, those earlier days of Twitch were absolutely insane. And I would say that maybe a few years into Twitch existing is when it actually really started booming and you started seeing more and more people streaming. The one thing that I would say that has never changed about Twitch is those League of Legends numbers. That stayed the highest watched game on Twitch all these years.
That's so crazy. I still know nothing about League of Legends, and yet it's like so popular. It's stuff like that that makes me feel out of sync. Like I'm doing a thing, but I don't know that much about everybody else who's doing the thing.
So I remember following this channel for a while. So the person that inspired me to stream was this streamer called Lady Devon.
Interesting.
And I followed her for a little while. She was like one of those like later night streamers, which was fine for me because back then I was working in a grocery store and I would get out late. And so by the time I got out, she would be maybe about an hour into her stream. So I would go in, I would hang out. Sometimes she would play with her viewers, and she ended up going on to become a community manager for Bethesda.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, her stream ended up becoming pretty big. She ended up becoming a partner, and yeah, like that was like one of my inspirations. I really just liked the vibe of streaming. In early 2017 was when I ended up getting my rig together. I built a rig with the notion of streaming. I really wanted to stream, but you know, I'm just in a busy time in my life. You know, I've got my podcast, and then there's some other stuff that I'm working on. But maybe, just maybe, sometime down the line, I'll get back into it when I can actually afford to get another computer, or at least replace some of the parts. I want to upgrade my GPU, I want to upgrade my CPU. So I'd like to be able to do that. But yeah, my start was like back in 2017. And I think that when I started streaming, they hadn't started the affiliate program yet until a few months after I started streaming.
Wow.
And the grind for affiliate was so hard back then.
It was worse.
Because there was no actual guidelines how you have it now.
Yeah.
They give you a roadmap now, which is a lot better because you know where your standing is. And now there's even a roadmap to become a partner, which I feel like the roadmap to partner is the hardest, because the one thing that people have the hardest time reaching is that 75 concurrent viewers.
That's it. Technically speaking,
that's the hardest part.
Technically speaking, I qualify for every other criteria except that one. So yeah, the rest are really easy because it's like stream so many hours or things like that you just kind of do. But that one you can't really control. So that's hard.
Because you have to have 75 plus people that are constantly in your stream over a period of time.
Yeah.
That is hard because, you know, in the beginning, you're lucky if you're getting like 3.
Yes.
You know, I think the most concurrent viewers I've ever had was like maybe 12 people.
Yeah, I never even get in the 20s. That doesn't happen. It's like if I'm in the late teens, it's because like I was rated or something. Like
the one thing that I love about Twitch, and it's what's really like kept me on the platform, is connecting with new people to game with.
Yep.
But also, there's a lot of these gaming events that happen that air on Twitch. You have these major platforms like Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Gamescom, whatever. that they'll play on Twitch, and say that you want to keep up to date with game news.
Yep.
You can get a lot of that in Twitch. But I love visiting small streams because I feel like that's where a lot of the wholesome people are. Not saying that big streamers aren't wholesome, but they just, the excitement of having somebody in your stream, I know that excitement, and so I like being there. I like hanging out with somebody, especially when they're just starting off. Like when you just started off, you were building up your stream, you're like, yeah, you know, I got this going, you know, I wanted to be there, because nothing sucks more than booting up your stream and there not being anybody there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I feel like, so I used to talk about like my motivations for streaming, and one of them was that I just wanted to game more, and I was having a hard time doing it because I was like, well, you know, I have this and this and this real life responsibilities to do, but if I'm streaming, then that's like cutting out the window of time and I have to do it. So I feel like for people who are just starting out on Twitch, it's a good idea to have some kind of motivation that keeps you going, even if the follower number, like the viewer number, is 0. Because for me, that number was 0, but I was playing a game I liked, so that was okay. It's just hard to talk to nobody sometimes.
Right. I think that that's what made it hard for me, because you had to get used to talking to pretty much empty space.
Yes.
Which in a way, that's what podcasting kind of is doing, or that's kind of what podcasting is. But when, you know, because I've done these solo episodes before, and I have to like figure out ways to like keep going, you know, and it's not easy. At least with you, I have something to bounce, you know, an idea off of and engage in a conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm not totally alone. But yes, talking into empty space to somebody that's not there is definitely tough, especially in those earlier days. But yes, I really do like what you said about your motivation, that maybe not having your motivation grounded in the amount of people that's going to be there, especially initially, is probably a great thing. But to have it to where like, hey, you know what, I've always wanted to stream, I love to game. If I'm going to be gaming anyways, I might as well be sharing a game that I enjoy playing with maybe somebody else who wants to check out the game but hasn't been able to.
Yeah, that's what I think about it now, is like, you can enjoy the game vicariously through me, and you know, we'll experience it together even if you're not the one playing it. I think it's fun to be around people who can make a game more interesting than the game itself, and I think that's part of what being a good streamer is. I
agree. I loved connecting with other streamers and kind of trying to give back towards other streamers. Like, there's been people who have raided into my channel before that I don't know, and so that's a connection right there, and at some point I'll pay it forward to somebody else, or I'll do it right back to them, like, you know, hey, this person's awesome, their channel's really cool. It gets me to check out their channel to see like, oh, you know, they rated into me, they might be into something that I'm into also. So let me go check them out. It's a cool way of how like the lower tiers of Twitch will connect with each other in that kind of way, and how some streamers will go based off of their recommendations, like the, you know, the recommended that Twitch has to raid into other people. And I think that's so cool when somebody does that. Yeah.
And I especially like doing that because I don't know how other streamers' mindsets are, but I feel like when I want to raid out, I'm kind of considering like who was hanging out with me and maybe what they'd like to go continue watching. So it's nice when I can bring them to a similar stream, even if it's someone I don't even know, and be like, oh, I think you guys maybe will enjoy this together, and then I get to meet somebody new and they get to continue watching content they like, and I feel like I did a service. I feel like I did a public service.
I agree. I think it's really cool when a streamer does that, and I tried to do that often. And you know, I connected with many people, and connecting with the smaller streamers brought me into other people's channels that I enjoyed. And then honestly, I came to you through like another streamer, you know?
Yeah.
it's funny how that works, that you have that community, that connection, and then sometimes communities will connect with other communities and they'll kind of intermingle, kind of mix match, and some streamers will have community nights that will make up two communities, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really, I really love it when people do stuff like that.
Twitch has like actual like Twitch teams, like you could be part of a Twitch team, but I feel like what we're talking about is just all the unofficial teaming that goes on with streamers, because there are lots of like discords that I'm part of that are just like discords for streamers that we've all kind of banded together, and we're like, oh, we're gonna make content together whenever it kind of suits us. And it's so interesting when you get to be part of behind the scenes stuff like that, because you're all kind of in the same boat as content creators. And then you just meet so many other people. Like, the spider web of connection kind of is endless. It's really hard to dead end it once you start getting into it.
So let's talk a little bit about the average Twitch channel. Some of the offerings. There may be some people here that have heard of Twitch but haven't actually been there. But so a Twitch channel obviously involves a stream of some sort, you know, somebody streaming themselves playing a game, whether it be a face cam, a VTuber, which it's an animated character,
yep,
or some people just opt with the no cam at all, no VTube. And there's a chat, so you can interact with the person that's streaming, you can speak to them. Some people have it set to follower only, emote only, slow mode, which kind of helps slow down the chat for the streamer. And streamers, especially when they become an affiliate, which we'll talk a little bit of that, they have the capability of having their own emotes. You can subscribe to them.
Yep.
There's different subscription tiers. You can add kind of a month-anniversary icons next to the different subs, and then they'll have a whole little description at the bottom of their channel about who they are, their rules, ways to donate to them if they have it, or you can always use these things called bits, which are like little tips, but you can always donate directly to their channel if they have their PayPal connected.
Yep.
So let them know a little bit about how your stream is set up, not the entirety, but like maybe the emote process, what it kind of took for you to become affiliate, and then we can kind of shift to what a VTuber is.
Sure. So getting into streaming, I didn't necessarily do like research, but I had a bunch of streamers I was following at the time, and I was trying to like figure out what the formula was for like a good channel. And I would recommend on your channel, at minimum, in your about section, there's some common areas that streamers like to cover, just so that they have the information that people maybe want to know when they get there. And that is having like a little bit of a bio kind of a thing. What are the rules of your channel? They're different for different people. My rules specifically say 18 plus. You have to be not a minor to hang out in my streams. How do we like support you? If the community wants to support directly, maybe where else can we find you? And then who do you need to credit so that other people can find their work? If you have some really cool stuff going on in your streams that were made by other people that you use. Those are kind of the basics that I made sure I had that information in my about section on my channel. I know another really important one is like your setup, like what your computer is and all the program and software and stuff. I don't have a section like that because I don't know those things. The technical side of the computer stuff is not my forte. But yeah, so I just have a lot of information in my about section that's kind of like that. And then when it comes to kind of my brand, you want to know kind of what you're about so you know how heavily you need to lean into it. Like, I view brands as just something that helps you think less about what you're doing, because then you don't need to micromanage every piece of your channel. It just kind of comes naturally. So I'm CheekyLemon, and a big part of my brand is lemons. So a lot of the stuff in my channel is like lemon based. And that makes it easier when I need like a raid message when we're gonna go visit somebody else. Oh, I'll just have like a lemon pun. Or if I need like a color for my brand so it's recognizable when I'm in other people's chats, oh, it's gonna be yellow. So I strongly encourage people to kind of have a baseline of like, oh, maybe something that they're going to latch onto that help other people latch onto them. And then that's just something that you kind of like spam all over your channel. Yeah, so like my emotes are all lemon based, things like that. The process of becoming an affiliate kind of caught me off guard because I was just kind of doing my thing and streaming, and then all these wonderful people started coming and hanging out with me. And then I think the hardest part of the affiliate requirements is getting the 50 followers. But once you're there, it kind of all happens really fast. And it can be overwhelming at first because all these new features unlock, like having emotes and redeems and subscriptions. I would say that you don't need to really worry about super personalizing all that stuff at the beginning. There's a lot of stuff that Twitch builds into the platform that you can just use. Like they have generic emotes if you just want something to get started with. Like you don't really need a lot to get started. You kind of need to know what you want to stream, when you want to stream it, and what you want people to like recognize you for. And then you're kind of already on your way, I would say. Am I missing anything that you think is super important?
No, I think that you're pretty on point with what you're saying. And honestly, one of the things that I loved that you said, that I personally never got deep into that, and I probably should have, and I would have been a lot more successful had I done that, was tapping into your brands.
Yes.
I didn't really have a brand, and I was kind of all over the place. So that's what probably doomed me, because I wasn't really too sure of what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be that guy that streamed. You know, I didn't look too much into all that stuff. But I guess if you just wanted to stream for the heck of it, I guess that doesn't matter too much. But if you really want to reach out to people, that really is important. And yeah, I think a part of your brand also goes down to whether or not you want to be somebody that streams their face,
Ooh, yeah,
not their face, or if they're a VTuber. And that's what you are. You're a VTuber. Tell the audience a little bit about VTubing, because that is not my expertise. I'm not a VTuber.
Sure. Technically, the word VTuber comes from virtual YouTuber. I think that's the platform that pioneered the VTubing, was actually YouTube. But now a lot of it happens on Twitch. So it's interesting that we still kind of use that word. But what it is you're basically puppeting a stand-in, an avatar, and people pick all kinds of different designs for their avatars. Some people just have an avatar that kind of looks like them, like just kind of a person that they puppet just so they don't have to show their face. They can keep some anonymity for privacy or otherwise. And then you have people who go crazy. And I know VTubers who pilot like avatars that aren't even like animate objects. Like I know a VTuber that's just a signpost. And I know a VTuber who's a box. And you really, there's no rules. You can be whatever you want. There are a couple of different categories of VTubers. You have what are called PNG tubers. They're the ones who use kind of a stand-in image that's more of like a GIF, and it just changes minutely when they're talking. That's a great option if you want to get into it and you have a design you like, but you don't know how to go about getting a model, because getting an actual like motion capture model can be kind of expensive sometimes. So PNG tubing is a really great option. Also, if you don't have that great of a setup and it can't handle some heavier games or streams, PNG tubing is like really easy on your computer processing. So a lot of people who even have like really good models switch to that sometimes, just because some games are like taxing on your system. So it's a good backup if anything else. But for actual VTubing, where you're virtually moving and puppeting this avatar, you have two types. You have 3D VTubers and 2D VTubers. I'm a 3D VTuber. That means that my model is three-dimensional. You can 360 spin around it, and it has all the parts. 2D models are made to look like they have that, but they actually don't. It takes a very complicated rigging process. There's pros and cons to both. Typically speaking, the 3D VTubers can have a little bit more motion to them. So I can do what's called full body mocap, motion capture. So my model can track my hands, my legs. I can pretty much one for one puppet my model. That's harder to do with a 2D because they don't have all the angles. You can't really puppet them like that. But 2D models are typically look more high quality because the art can come from professional artists and things like that. So you just have to kind of decide what you want to do. Like, are you going for like the looks? Do you want it features wise? There is a lot of crossover, but that's kind of how it breaks down in those two camps.
Yeah, your model is really cool. I've seen some of the stuff that you've done. There's been times where you have your model with a mouse and a keyboard and like I'll see the fingers moving. It's really cool.
Yeah. It's very interesting how the whole goal of VTubing is to like puppet real life without being real life. Like, we want this to look as close as possible, but we don't really want you to see us.
Right, which I understand. People want to maintain that privacy. They don't want to have their face out there, but they also want to have something for the chat to kind of react to.
Yes.
And one of the cool things about a VTube model is that you can kind of tap into a persona if you wanted to.
Yes. This is not something that I do because maintaining something like that is taxing for me socially. So when I am streaming, you're kind of getting just me. But I know a lot of people who will put on like an accent, or they'll change their speech patterns depending on like what they're doing. I think I know a VTuber who has like a diner theme, and so they kind of talk like a diner girl just to kind of sell it a little bit. So yeah, there is a lot of persona put on that goes on. And then it's more like you're acting. It's a full-on like acting gig, which is interesting.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I already do that every week with my D&D session.
Yeah.
Tap into a persona. So it is taxing to be able to do that. See, like at least, in D&D, I'm not talking all the time. With us being a streamer, you'd have to talk the entire time that you're streaming, pretty much.
Well, to me, I'd say there's two different kinds of streamers. There are the streamers that are cracked at the games they play, so they're like super good, and you watch them to see them do amazing things. And then there's the streamers that are cracked at crowd work, and they do really great interacting with their audience. I am not the cracked streamer type, so I have to be talking all the time. But if you're streaming because you are really good at certain games, you can get away with a lot.
I agree with that, but I lie somewhere in the middle of being a normal person, so I have to engage in the way that I can because I'm not a cracked gamer.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever be a cracked gamer. But it's interesting because as your channel grows, it's harder to interact with your chat. Like kind of how you were talking about, that's one of the benefits of being a small streamer because there's fewer people and you get more attention from the streamer. And then once you're getting into like the 500 followers, 1,000 followers, and viewer counts that are up near partner levels, there's just no way. So it's interesting how your strategy kind of has to transition a little bit once you actually start growing. And I often worry if I'm so married to being able to interact with chat like that, if maybe that keeps me from growing because I'm not like supporting a model that I would actually need later. You know what I mean?
Well, possibly you could use stuff like slow-mo, the slow chat mode.
Yeah.
Where it kind of helps slow things down. And I totally get it. Some people might not understand that, they'll come into a channel and there's 300 viewers and a bunch of them are chatting and the streamer overlooks something that you said. There's so much on that screen, so they're trying to keep up with chat while playing video games and also might be talking to somebody on Discord. So there's a lot going on. I can imagine once you get up to those levels, it's a little bit harder to actually keep up with the chat. Even
now, there's this big joke that I have very short-term memory because you do have to monitor so much while you're streaming. It's your game. It's if you are collaborating with somebody. It's your actual stream software to make sure everything's running the way it should. You're not muted. Your levels are good. You have to be like watching all that stuff in real time, and then you're trying to interact with chat. And often it'll be a minute later, but I'll look back at chat and I won't remember what we were talking about, and and they need to remind me why they were saying certain things. So for me, that stuff is kind of harder because I don't do well with the multitasking. If you're a really good multitasker, streaming is going to be wonderful for you. If you're not, you have to get used to it. It's definitely a shifting focus constantly situation.
It really is. So, Lemon.
Yes.
If somebody was interested in streaming and they don't know where to start, where would you recommend to start?
Ooh.
Or what would you recommend to start?
I would recommend that they have seen streams before. If you want to start streaming and you don't know what it looks like, I don't know how you're going to do that.
That would be important.
And then something that I did because I was very overwhelmed initially, because I didn't have anyone helping me, I kind of just figured a lot of stuff out, is that Twitch has its content creator camp, and they walk you through a lot. Twitch has a lot of articles that walk you through how to do different things on their platform. And I would strongly encourage that if you want to stream on Twitch, you look through those, because then it lets you know exactly what you're getting into, because there's a lot of tabs and tabs buried in tabs, and it can feel very overwhelming with all the things that it feels like you need to be doing, when really you just need to know how to hit go live, and then you're pretty much good.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think to go through creator camp, and I don't think it existed when I first started to stream.
Oh, probably not.
But they have added, they've definitely added a lot to help newer streamers. But I mean, honestly, outside of the complexity of Twitch, you're gonna want to have a computer that can handle gaming and streaming. So you're gonna want to have a good bit of RAM, at least 32 gigabytes plus. I mean, some people run it lower, but I like to not worry too much about my processing.
Yeah.
So you also want to have a good graphics card that can help take some of that load off, and 2 screens goes a long way.
Bless. This is
more.
This is one of those things where it becomes so second nature. I can't even fathom streaming with just a single screen anymore, because
I can't.
There's so much you need to be able to see at the same time. How?
I can't fathom being on my PC normally without 2 screens.
Even that, yeah. Just it.
Because I'm multitasking all the time.
Yeah, and it's so used. Get 2 screens. That's number one recommendation. Have 2 monitors. At least you need, especially if you're gonna VTube, because there's so many other programs you need besides the general setup, because you need your connectors to your actual model. Have 2 monitors. Bless.
I do so much with it. You also want to know what kind of streamer you want to be. Like, if you want to get a face cam, look into the different webcams that you can get. There's some really good ones. I think that I have a Logitech C120 or something like that.
Yeah.
That was a really good beginner webcam. Another thing is a microphone. You want to have a decent microphone at least. You don't have to get anything super expensive, but you want to at least sound clear in your stream. My starting microphone happened to be a Blue Yeti, and that's what I'm using for the podcast, at least for the time being. Right now, I'm actually looking to build up my new home setup for podcasting with a new microphone. I'm going XLR, so that's going to be a fun new challenge for me. But just look into stuff like that, and then YouTube. You want to have somebody that understands those earlier hurdles that can help walk you through that stuff.
Yes.
Twitch is also a really cool just place to go and watch your favorite video games or interact with new people. There's just so much that you can do. You can meet new friends. You can meet people to play that game that you always wanted friends to play with. And yeah, it's just a really cool website. There's a bunch of other streaming websites. There's people that stream on YouTube and Kick, but I'm not gonna get too much into that. Anyway, Cheeky Lemon, do you have any last tidbit that you want to add before we wind down this episode?
Yeah, I would say that if you're in it to start streaming, there's a lot that you can consider that would improve your streams, but you can start bad. My first stream was so bad. I would encourage you to not shy away from doing something that might become your favorite hobby, like it has for me, just because you don't think you have all your ducks in a row yet. You can get those in a row later. Seriously, stretch out your improvements. It makes it so much more manageable, and then you can be having fun in the meantime. And then when you're ready and you feel like you're making really good content, then you can, rebrand or announce to everyone, okay, I know what I'm doing now. And then you can be good. But you don't have to start good. Just like any hobby, or, if you want to be professional, I don't know how successful that could go, but you can start bad. It's a learning process the whole time. And I'm still learning a lot of tips and tricks from fellow content creators that I wish I had known a long time ago, but it doesn't matter because I'm continuing to learn and I'm having a really fun time doing it.
Always be learning.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me here on this Twitch episode, Lemon. Tell the fine people of this podcast where they can watch you on stream and any of your socials.
Okay. My stream, you can find me on Twitch. I am CheekyLemon. And then for my socials, on almost every social media platform, you can find me underneath the same username. I tried to keep it very consistent so that I was accessible across platforms. But the main one that I use outside of Twitch is Twitter, or X, whatever we're calling it now. You can find me on both of those.
I've been stumbling on that too.
The URL still says Twitter, so, we're going with that for now. But I am CheekyLemon, and I've had a wonderful time hanging out with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being on. And we will have Lemon's Twitch and socials in the show notes if you're interested in going and giving Lemon a follow. I guarantee you that it is quality content. Go and hang out. The Vtuber model is super sick, and it's always improving. Thank you for joining us for episode 62 of Project Geekology. And if you enjoyed this episode, give us a nice review on whatever podcast platform that you're listening to, if it allows you for a review. We like to read our reviews. We want to read them on the show. I actually need to go and check to see if there's any new reviews so I can go and read them in the next episode if there's any new ones. Follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter,
Perfect.
at PGeekology, and Instagram at Project Geekology, and all that will be in the show notes. Thank you for joining us for the zestiest episode ever.
Let's go.
That we have at Project Geekology. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and bye.
Bye.